And so I'm going to introduce Leandra, and then I'm going to spotlight her, and we can go. Leandra, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So I'm going to spotlight you, and I'm going to spotlight your thing. So I've got the pin there. Add pin. Okay, there we go. Now we can see both you and your journal page. So
Hey.
I'll hand it over to you. Thank you so much. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and then we can get going?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hi, everyone. Can you hear me? There's a truck driving by.
Yeah,
You
we
can
can
hear
do.
me?
Yeah.
My name is Leandra Taylor. I'm currently in Marietta, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, here in the United States. I'm really excited to be here. The sun is currently roasting me, so I'm hoping it kind of goes down a little bit as our session goes on. But I thought it would be beautiful and fitting if I sat back in my backyard and shared what my backyard view is like. I think it's a gorgeous backdrop for this kind of session. And just to share a little bit about the trees, there are a few different types of trees that are back here. I'm fairly new to the area, so I'm going to share with you what I've learned so far. There are tulip poplar trees, which are these tall, sturdy ones. They've got these gorgeous orange and green flowers that grow on them every spring. So they're like the first sign of spring. And then we've also got some maple trees and some pine trees that I'm not totally familiar with. But sitting out here in my backyard, I have some avocado seeds here with me that I germinated earlier this year. I had some avocados, and I've been really wanting to try to grow them from the seed and see if I can plant them and grow a tree. So I'm really proud of it, but I thought it was fitting for the germination theme. So those are going to be what I'm going to be observing while I'm talking with y'all. And then I'll be listening. I'm also a bird watcher, so if I hear any birds, I'll call those out if I hear any of the calls that I know. And yeah, that's basically what we'll be working on. Is there anything else you wanted me to share, Beth Ann, or was that good?
That's absolutely perfect. Thanks, Leandra.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so I guess I'll just free flow talk, but I have a little portable watercolor set, which is my favorite to use with my nature journal. So that's what I was going to use today. And then I have some portable watercolor pens and some Crayola color pencils, just in case I decide I want to get into those. But I think I'm just going to start out with the larger. So I have two seeds here, which I'm excited about. They're in two different growth stages. This one's got two different stems on it. If you can see that one up close, I was excited. It originally had four, but I think it didn't keep two of them. And I was hoping to be able to bonsai them later. So we'll see how they grow. But I'm just going to get started. I guess I'll go with the more mature tree, which I've had for a few months. I'm just trying to stand it up. Okay. And I think I want to write the title. I love having like a beautiful title in my journal. So I'll write Germination. If you're listening to the bird calls, there's a northern cardinal behind me. There's a male doing his call.
Leandra, some folks are thinking it would be really good to be able to be a bit more over your journal page. Can we shuffle the
I think
thing a little bit?
Sorry, I'm gonna be blurry for a second. Try to put it right here. Actually, I'm going to switch sides because I'm right-handed, so you won't see anything from that side. Okay, how's that? Is that a better view?
Yeah, that's looking good. Thank you.
Perfect. Oh, there's a moment of shade. My goodness, the sun is hot. Okay. Put these standing up. Did I just move it out of the, there we go. Sometimes I feel a lot of pressure to draw a really perfect version of what I'm looking at. So I like to start with watercolor because it feels more forgivable. I don't overthink it as much. So that's what I'm going to do. I like to mix these right on the palette, so then I can come back to these colors. Got a little napkin here.
Leandra, there's a question in the chat. Did one single avocado tree put out 4 individual avocado sprouts, or were those stems from the same individual plant?
Yeah, those came from the same seed. So I'll pull it out actually and show you a little bit closer. So I've got the roots here. So where I was talking about, if you're looking in the middle right here where you see this little one, there were 2 more last week that were there. And I thought all 4 were eventually going to come up, but it seems like it might keep this one. But they were all coming out of the same seed. So
That's
I
amazing.
think it decided which ones would be the better to keep going. And that was the same, similar for the other one. There were 2 branches originally, and then one of them died. And I was actually sad about it until I realized there's only so much strength that one seed pod can use to grow the leaves. So I was figuring there might be some natural causes for that. So I'm just following the crack of the seed right now, capturing that opening. I think I may have just heard a woodpecker. We'll see if it comes a little bit closer. We've got quite a few birds that come through here. I feel, pretty embedded in the trees, so it's not a surprise that the birds often make their way through. We see red-tailed hawks, red-shouldered hawks. Got some chipmunks that frequent the yard, squirrels. So I'm just going to follow this seed sprout all the way up. Trying to get it as close to my journal as possible.
A participant is interested in knowing if you use the Merlin app for birding, as it identifies for sound.
I do. I've been using that app more in the past year. I feel like it's really helpful when I'm learning bird calls. There's some that I recognize pretty frequently, and then there are some that still stump me every time. And I think Merlin is a really great tool. I love the Merlin app. I also use the Seek app by iNaturalist. So if there's any plants or animals that I'm not familiar with, I will seek them in addition to using my nature journal. But if I've got to go pretty quick, sometimes I'll just seek it and take a screenshot, and then I'll come back to it in my nature journal.
It seems like I thought if I pinned on my screen that it was pinning for everybody, but it seems like it's not. I'm just going to spotlight your page,
Okay.
and then we can come back to you after. Oh, there. Sorry, Sandra. Okay. All done. So your page is spotlighted now, and we'll come back to you at the end, and so you can keep chatting, but your page is more obvious now. Thanks, everyone.
I'm just working in the leaves right now. Getting that stem. Okay, so I'm gonna go in and start going in with some browns now that I feel like I have like an okay outline of my seed. And I don't have the glass container there, but I'll just pretend for a second. I'm imagining it without that. Our second little branch here. And I was actually surprised as I was watching these grow over the past, and I can't even remember, it's been at least 3 months. I was surprised when they had the stem, it didn't take long for the stem to gain height. Like I feel like it was gaining like an inch a day. They grew pretty fast and the leaves came out pretty quick. I'm getting locked into this leaf that I can see next to me. So I might actually do a close-up of that leaf because it's got some pretty textures that are on it. The lighting is catching it in an interesting way. I actually saved these seeds, and after this recording or after this session, I was going to plant them in some soil. I wanted to be able to see them, and I was like, I'll keep them just for this, and then they'll go in the soil. Noticing some like flakes that used to be like the harder skin on the shell. goes down the side.
Leandra, would you be able to talk about the colors that you're choosing?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually when I start, I like to try to find like a base color. So this one for me was green because I feel like the leaves are green, the seed has like hues of green. So I like to pick a lighter shade and just start out outlining with that color, and just getting the basic shape. And then as I'm going, I'm building up more and more of those shades of green. So I might come back, um, and here, if you could see my palette, there's some wet paint here. So I'll keep coming back to that green, or I'll use it in the mixing tray here. I'll have my palette there. So if I want to add some blues to it, I can, or reds or browns. So as I'm looking at the seed, I'm trying to add the shades that I'm seeing and kind of layering them on there. So the base of the seed is kind of like a pale yellow, kind of faded green, but there's still the remnants of the browns that are on there. So now I was trying to go in with a little bit of brown, not too much, um, adding it into the stem as well. So I like to add them in. I usually will wait. So like right here where my leaf bled a little bit, I'll just go back with the same green, but I'll probably add another layer of that green. Oh, it looks like my cell phone is a little bit laggy, but hopefully it'll clear up here in a second.
Seems okay on this end.
Okay. It's a little blurry.
Participants are really interested in your materials, including the paper that you're using. What kind of journal do you have?
This is, wait, let me see. It says it in here somewhere. I really like this one too. This is the Strathmore, and it's like the kind of like a flexible cover. So it's not super hard. I chose this one because I feel like the hard covers are harder for me to carry in my backpack. So I'm a avid hiker, and it can be hard to carry something that adds too much weight. I like this one. This is a multi or like a mixed media journal. So I can use any of the mediums. I really like to be able to switch between colored pencils and watercolor. Um, I wish I remembered what size this is, but I feel like it's like maybe 8 inches by something. So I think it feels like a full journal enough, but not like a small, like a pocket size. So for me, I felt like this was like the perfect size, so that I can kind of challenge myself to do a full spread, or I can just do one page at a time. And then I've got my portable watercolor set. I think I just got this at Walmart a couple years ago, and it's been really helpful. But I've also made these with um, empty gum packets, those ones that you can punch the pieces out of. You can actually pour the watercolor into those and use that as a portable um, watercolor palette. And the watercolor set came with a brush, but I also found a set of portable watercolor brushes that all have different types of bristles. So that's usually what I carry. And then I've got this blue case that I carry it all in. Like if I'm on a road trip and I have space to carry more, I'll carry a more full kit. But if I'm hiking, I usually will just take this watercolor palette in one brush, one or two brushes. And I hope that answers your questions. If there are any specific questions, I can answer those.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I like the palette.
People are
It
always
closes.
really interested in the kit.
Yeah, I like this one. I like that it closes and opens. It also has the sponge pad here. So if you need to mix your color or clean your brush, you can. I usually have like a napkin or a paper towel as well to kind of blot my color if I want to clean the brush easier. I have found that some of the portable brushes sometimes keep the color in the water or in the brush.
Do you remember the brand of water brush that you're using?
I think so. This says Art Alternatives, and I think I got these at Michael's, but that's what they say, Art Alternatives. I wonder if it's Art Alt, but that's what it says.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. so glad the weather stayed nice. It was kind of rainy yesterday, so Georgia's a pretty wet state. It was raining earlier. I went to the botanical garden, which was gorgeous. And the Atlanta Botanical Garden right now has an Alice in Wonderland art installation that was really cool. Okay, so sometimes if I'm doing a close-up like of a leaf, like of these two, if I feel like I've captured the leaf, but not but I want to be more accurate in the texture, I will do one underneath. So that's probably what I'm going to do, is do another leaf so that I can just show a close-up of that leaf. And what I feel like it looks like. I try not to fall into the trap of having it look exactly like the thing, just trying to capture the essence of what I'm observing. Just adding some textures here, and then I was going to do another leaf. Oh, what's my journey been into nature journaling? All right, reading a couple comments. I can also talk about the Nature Swagger book. So I discovered nature journaling almost 10 years ago. I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time, and I was taking a master naturalist course, which kind of introduces you to all of the different natural aspects. So like the geology, the botany, ornithology, all those different things. And one of our guest speakers was a nature journaler. And that was the first time that I had been introduced to the concept of nature journaling and like capturing what you're seeing with art. And I loved it from the first time that I saw it. So I've tried keeping a journal. Sometimes I struggle to actually finish a complete journal, but it's been a fun hobby of mine that I've been doing since then. And as a scientist, it's one of my favorite ways to make observations or to keep track of the places that I've traveled. What are the plants and animals that I got to see in that place? So that's kind of how I got started with nature journaling. And it was love at first sight. I could not stop. And as an environmental educator, I also now use it as a tool for connecting people and youth to nature and to science and observation, and building that curiosity. Beth Ann mentioned that I wrote a chapter in the Nature Swagger, which is a collection of stories written by different Black people that are just sharing their joy in nature. I wrote about my journey to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa, which was in so many different ways very life-changing. And on that trip, I kept a nature journal, which I lost afterwards, but I did keep a journal that I used to make observations about the plants and animals, or I was also writing poems. I was writing about how I was feeling, and the nature journaling was what kind of kept me grounded in that journey, which was, yeah, probably one of the hardest things I've ever done.
I really loved when we spoke together on the podcast, Leandra, your take on what you described as a personal summit, not necessarily the top of a mountain, but the idea that what is your best is your personal summit. And I really appreciated that insight.
Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely. I have I've written a couple of times about Kilimanjaro, and I've shared about it. Any person that will let me talk to them about how much I loved climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, I will share that. But that was the biggest lesson that I learned. I think, going into climbing a mountain, you feel like getting to the top is the most important thing. And as a team, we asked ourselves, like, well, what happens if we don't make it to the top? Like, what is our climb about if it's not only about getting to the top of the mountain? And for us, it was about representation and creating visibility for Black mountaineers, um, learning the climbing culture in Tanzania, Africa. And my third day was my most difficult day. I got sick from the altitude, and I basically needed to like lean all of my weight on one of my teammates for miles and miles. And had I not made it through that day, I don't know that I would have made it to the highest point on the mountain. And so even when we were making our push for the summit, my teammates were turning around when they were reaching their respective summit points. So like, you know, there's your highest point, but there's also um yeah, I think the space that really made it possible for you to complete that. So for me, it was day 3. Um, the top of the mountain was beautiful, but the hardest part for me was day 3. So that was my summit. I think I did the direction of these leaves wrong. I also realized I painted this right where the roots would go. Great. So I'm just going to paint the roots underneath that. And this is not a perfect depiction of this leaf that I'm looking at, but I think it captures some of the texture that I'm looking at. We are going for observation over perfection. So I'm just going to try to capture some of the textures that I'm looking at.
Leandra, there's a question. Do you have nature journal buddies or connections from your time in Africa? Because there's lots of people who would love to find connections on the continent.
You know, I kept a journal while I was climbing, and I shared it with my teammates, but it was kind of more of a personal activity. I wish I had met some other folks that were nature journaling out there. That would have been amazing. Um, and I would love to have that network, but no, I wasn't able to connect with folks that were also nature journalers at the time and kind of stay in touch with them.
Also, someone is really interested in hearing you talk more about how you capture the essence of what you're observing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually a really good question. So when I'm looking at this leaf, I think my inner critic is also battling me at the same time and telling me that my leaf doesn't look exactly like the leaf that I'm looking at. So I'll show you the texture that I'm looking at here. So on this leaf, you can see the different levels of texture here, the different lines that are coursing through. And I know that I can't copy each of these. I probably could if I stared at it long enough and like really concentrated. But as an artist, that hasn't always been my strength. But what I do love is capturing the essence of it. For me is these different lines here that I think are capturing the textures that I'm seeing on the leaf, but it might not be like a photorealism painting of that leaf per se. So the same thing with the seed. If I look at it, it's actually out of proportion with the actual seed. But what I was really trying to capture is this crack here, the edges of the texture of the seed, the brown parts that were breaking off, the fact that it has 2 buds and 2 leaves, like the essence of this plant is captured in this painting. Someone could look at it and tell me all of the things that are not as accurate as they could be. And so sometimes I am that person for myself, and I like to pick on my own paintings, but that's not what art is about for me. So I try to bring myself back to what I was doing it for, which was for observation and joy. So just say it's okay if it doesn't look exactly like that. Sometimes I want to paint with other people and they're intimidated by the fact that I'm an artist and theirs won't be perfect and accurate. And it's crazy to me because in my mind, mine isn't any of those things either. But I think we all can be a little hard on ourselves. So that's something that I try to practice and preach at the same time, which can be hard. So I'm going in now, I'm adding the roots, even though they'll intersect with this leaf. That's okay. It just adds a little bit of dimension to my paper. I see the roots are like balling up right here. I'll add that. I'm just texturing these roots. This is not the most oh, you're not all the way looking at it. Okay. It's not the most accurate, but I am capturing the fact that these roots are all tangled up together. So that's what I want to. And then I've got the different greens and browns. So right now I'm not grabbing any specific colors. I've just been going towards the greens and the browns because I feel like the roots kind of have a gradient of colors that are there. So I'm just playing around with that. I feel like it adds more of a natural dimension when you let the color palette add a little bit of character too. Okay. I was also going to keep a short bird list. Sometimes I like to write down the birds that I'm hearing in the backyard. And I only had a couple, but I'm going to write them down. Deciding where on my paper. I do sometimes spend just a couple of seconds thinking through my layout and how I want to lay things out on the page. I still want to add the second, got about 10 more minutes. Still want to add the second plant. So I'll probably add that one right here. So I'll add my bird list over here. Okay. I'm feeling pretty good about, yeah, composition can definitely be challenging. Sometimes I feel pressured to like complete the full page in this really like artistic kind of way. But again, I'm like getting stuck in that perfection trap. So I also just kind of like to let it kind of fall out naturally and playfully. And it's okay if it's a little disjointed. So I can share one of my previous pages. I'll just share a quick peek. So this was another like a spread that I did in Seattle, Washington, and I didn't finish this part. I envisioned writing a poem up there, but I didn't get to it. But I worked on this for about a week straight and just added something different every day. So that's what I was hoping to do with this page, because this is day 1 of International Nature Journaling Week. So I was going to add maybe some pieces from day 2 or some other parts and like build upon those pages every day. So I'm going to go in and add the second seed. This one's taller, so I want to capture that. Going in with my green again, and I'll kind of work through the colors as I build them up. The leaves on this one are a little bit droopier. I think they're a little bit more mature too. This one is older than the other seed by probably a couple weeks. I don't know if you can hear the northern cardinal, but he's moving a little bit closer. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys are able to hear the birds. I wasn't sure if they were picking up in the background. Cardinals are one of my favorites. When I first moved to the Southeast, there was a cardinal that perched outside my window, and he would just call every single day. So I quickly learned what northern cardinals sound like when I was living in North Carolina. And it was really cool. It was like I had my own little, it was a similar backyard. I've been fortunate to have 2 backyards that are old growth trees, and I lived in the Southwest before, which is much more dry. There isn't as much tree diversity in terms of conifer or deciduous trees that bloom every year and like have flowers and stuff. So that was new to me. And I was fortunate to have that backyard similar to this one. All right. Working through this leaf. There's a second one that I'm realizing sometimes that perspective can be a little difficult for me. So I'm going to add this one behind. It's kind of tucked away underneath. I have, Jill. I've used the Merlin app. I use it often, especially since I moved, and there's so many more birds than than the area that I came from. And I find it really useful because sometimes you're hearing much more bird calls than the ones that are actually making themselves known to you. So there are some birds that I'm really used to hearing, but never seeing, that I've learned their calls using that app. So I love using that. There's some owls in the neighborhood. We've got great horned owls and barred owls that both frequent the neighborhood. They come out in the evening time. I'm so glad it was out for just long enough to say it's daylight, but it's not roasting me. I was scared I was going to be out here sweating the whole time. All right, so I'm going on my fourth leaf. Got that one branched out. All right, we've got about 5 more minutes of this part of this session. So I'll just wrap it up and get a general outline of my avocado seed. This is what I'll usually do if I'm out in the field and I don't have time to finish. I'll outline as much as I can, take a reference photo from the perspective I'm at, and add as many details as I can before my boyfriend rushes me to get back on the trail. So one of the things that I love about these seeds is these deep, that crack there. There's something so like captivating about the fact that the seed germinated from what was on the inside of the avocado pod or the avocado fruit. And I just put it in a napkin and it opened itself up and started growing like that. I'm just so fascinated by that. I'm excited to see how they'll look when I add them to the soil, if that'll change their growth journey at all.
Leandra, I feel totally committed to these avocado seeds. I want to know how can we find out what happens after? Can you tag us in a story or something so that we can find out?
I'll have to keep y'all posted every couple months. I'll tag you and we'll keep up with our avocado seeds growth journey.
Someone's interested to know the time frame of growth. So when the stem and the leaf come out, how long did that take?
I would say from the time that the seed opened, that was probably over like maybe 6 weeks to 2 months. And then once it started growing the stem, it shot up about an inch a day. So it was much faster once it started growing taller, but it took its time forming the roots and then opening up carefully. Both of them actually have lost a couple of the stems. So I thought originally that the first one wasn't going to make it, but it was actually choosing between 2 different stems. And once one of them kind of shriveled up and died, the second one skyrocketed, and I've had them for about 4 months. I probably should have looked at my phone to see when I originally took the first picture. But that was roughly the time frame there. It was a couple months from the time I put them in the napkin to when they started growing their leaves. All right, I'm gonna add the roots to this one. Sometimes if the color is white or like a cream off-white, I'll paint the other tones that I see and maybe come in with a white watercolor at the end, but also capturing the other colors. So this one also has some brown. So I'm okay if it doesn't totally capture as white. And then for some parts, I'll just let the paint look almost translucent or clear, and that looks white to me. Okay. Yeah, for sure. White on white can be tricky. I mean, if you have time to go in with like a layer of acrylic, that's nice to get some opaque, or like a gouache. I also have a portable gouache set that I like to use. I feel like that captures a different intensity of colors. My seed is rotating a little bit, but I like to just try to get it back to the central spot that I started observing it. Add some more texture.
We talked about this on the podcast, Leandra, but color seems to be a really important part of your practice, not just as a nature journaler, but as an artist as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about your love of color?
I absolutely love color. For me, there's it's hard to pick like a favorite color, but I on certain days I'll find myself captured by certain, like today's color was purple. I feel like that was all I saw at the botanical garden was hydrangea, and they were pinks and blues and purples. And I was taking so many pictures because I love the idea of going back home and using those in my art, like using that color palette. And then I'm also, when I'm doing nature journaling, I like to challenge myself to do some black and white, but I find that trying to capture something in color and using some of the colors that I'm seeing is, there's something so fun about that. Is almost like a puzzle, and as you're adding more detail, you see your piece come to life. So even if you're not capturing it perfectly, you're looking at your interpretation of that thing. And color, it just makes me happy. So I feel like in a lot of my art, there's vibrant colors that usually also correlate with like joy and happiness. And I like for it to just kind of have that layering dimension to it. Um, so yeah, color is just, I think it's also so similar to nature. There's so many vibrant colors and reds and pinks, and I often find myself like smitten with nature's colors and just wish that I could create like the exact colors that I see outside. I did not use gouache with this one yet. I didn't bring my gouache color set out with me. But I think I was talking about, for if I was going to add white right here, I might have added that with gouache because I think it'll come through a little bit more opaque, which I might add to this depending on how I'm feeling later. Or sometimes a white color pencil, depending on how your piece dried. A white color pencil can also. Ooh, you see when you add that black, I feel like I added just a little bit of black and it took it to the next level right there in depth. So you gotta be careful with black. It's easy to use too much. But I love watercolor because I feel like it's really, really forgiving. It's one of the first paint mediums that I started with when I started painting. Because I started out with color pencils. There we go. So we'll just add this texture, trying to capture that huge crack in this middle of the seed. I like to label my things so that I know what I'm looking at later. I should have called it a sapling. It's kind of a sapling at this stage. And see, I've been using this green since we started, and now it's kind of at the end of it, which is usually, it's so satisfying to feel like you used, oh, the air conditioning just cut off. I don't know if you heard that conk off. It's so quiet out here now. I didn't realize how loud that was. Thank goodness. I'm gonna add some textures. So I had a little bit of bleeding over here on these leaves, so I'm just going to tighten these up a little bit. But I always feel like when you add another layer of color, it adds so much more life and texture to it. So I like to just kind of celebrate those parts and make them part of the piece. Oh, that's so cool. Someone said they have a pair of the Keen boots I designed. Um, I love those sandals. That was a really cool project. If you're not familiar with Outdoor Afro's Making Waves program, you should take a look at that program. They're doing some good things in terms of addressing um, swim lessons for the Black community in America. All right, tightening up these leaves, adding a little bit more texture. Sometimes I'll try to fix if there's like harsh lines where the water dried suddenly. I'll just kind of fade those a little bit, use those as texture. Did I use color pencils at the top? I haven't used color pencils yet on this particular one, but if I was to go back, I would probably add some, actually I'll do that. Why am I talking about it? I'll just add some browns. If I can find a light brown to add. I think half of them fell out of the box. I have the skin tones set, so there's a lot of browns in this one. You have the Crayola skin tones. Oh, this color is perfect. They have a deep rose color, which is like the brown red color that I'm looking at in the roots. So I'm just going to go in right here and see that's adding a little bit more dimension to it. I'm going to go right here on the edge as well. Just adding some more texture. There we go. And see, I feel like it just kicks it up a notch. Like it also added another texture and layer to it in addition to the color. Feels a little bit more organic. I got a couple of colors that I think I see in the paint. This color too. What is this? Bronze yellow matches this color pencil or matches this watercolor right here. I'm gonna just add that in there. Add a little bit of extra so it can add some texture. There we go. My second seed is still drying, so I'll wait until that fully dries so I don't make my paper start to disintegrate. But I find that this paper is really good about taking multiple different types of media. If you're using enough water, you don't want to overuse the water and like get through the page too quickly. But I haven't had that issue too much. Just gonna add a little bit of brown. Add some textures. They're not clumps of dirt because these have never been in soil, but there's some like clumps of texture here on the roots that I'm adding with this brown. It's only on some of them. And so now where I am on my page, I might add some more details. Like this is an avocado sapling. I would write how many months I've had these, maybe take a measurement of the height today and add today's date, the weather, and just kind of add some observations that I can come back to later if I wanted to compare seeds or the seed growth journey. So I'll probably add some of that in, add some of my observations. Okay, I think I got enough texture on the roots. I liked it, so I got a little heavy, got a little heavy-handed with it. It's okay. Oh yeah, that's still not dry. There we go. Adding in some more of that golden yellow over the green. And I don't usually have too much trouble if I add a little bit of watercolor on top of color pencil. So I don't do it a bunch, but I might just add a little bit more green right here. Like I covered more than what I wanted to. Let me add some more. Oh, there's like this olive green color, olive green brown. I'm gonna add that.
Leandra, people are loving your process and your painting. I don't want to interrupt you, and I also want to give a little time for others to share what they've been working on, but maybe you can finish in the next couple of minutes and then we can do a little journal share.
Yeah, I think I'm just about done.
Yeah.
I was adding more color and texture to my seed, but here's what my page looks like so far. And as I continue, I'll probably make some comparisons between the two seeds. What are some of the differences that I'm seeing, and maybe making some inferences about why I'm seeing those differences. But I would love to see what y'all have been working on. And yeah, I'll stop chatting there. But yeah, I thank you so much for watching me paint. I think it looks pretty cool to see the seeds in the background with this.
It's been amazing to see, and you've really inspired me at least to use pencils over the top of watercolor. That's something that it brings out, like you said, it's as extra power and extra texture, and I really like that technique. And at least one person has said that they're going to get an avocado seed and see if they can do what you've done.
Yeah, let's do it. I wanted to have something so that if it's raining or if I felt like nature journaling, but I couldn't come outside, there's something inside that I could use. So yes, let's all get avocado seeds. Oh,
What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the spotlight off your page, and then I'm going to see if we can get the gallery view and see if anyone would like to share what they've been working on. You can use the raised hand feature, or you can just raise your hand like this and I'll see you. Christy? Would you, someone's holding up, is it Dee Dee? Do you want
oh
to?
yeah.
There you
There you
go. I unmuted myself. So
go.
we have a little hummingbird in our backyard that has made her nest for about 20 years, or different birds have. And so I tried to do her little nest on the lights that go around the eaves of the house. And then I drew the hummingbird that it is.
I love that. And you
Thank
wrote
you.
between there.
It's just small and it's just journaling, but I'm really glad to join this, and I'm glad to watch you, Leanne. It's really, it's always so informative to watch somebody as they create and to listen to their process. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Dee Dee. I was saying to Leandra earlier that seeing a hummingbird is one of my life goals because it's intensely exotic to me, maybe common for some of you, but for me, it's amazing. So that's one of my life goals. Is there anyone else who'd like to share?
Saw another hand.
Patricia, I'll just ask you to unmute.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Can you see me?
Yep.
I started this morning about germination and I messed up. So I used hens and chicks this morning. If you're familiar with that plant, it regenerates. And then I realized, oh, shoot, that's not germination, that's regeneration. So I'm really glad to have this opportunity to do germination. And for that, I selected a sprout that was growing at the bottom of my lilies. And I think it's sunflowers.
Wow, that is gorgeous.
Thank you.
I love
I
that you
didn't
put this photo
go
in
ahead.
there. I'm
I'm
gonna
done.
start. That's a great idea. I like that your reference photo is right there next to it.
Yeah. I have
Yeah,
some sight issues, so I like to have it close up so I can see it.
yeah, I'm gonna try that.
Thank you so
Good.
much for sharing. Dane,
You're
hello.
welcome.
Would you like to unmute? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I can spotlight folks. I'm going to spotlight
Yeah.
whoever is going to spotlight
Perfect.
them.
Yeah, you go ahead and do that one.
All right. Let's see. Oh, that's beautiful.
Dana, do you want to talk us through what you've created?
Yes, okay. It's a human embryo. It's mostly looking at lines. I haven't done much color fill in, but the round background is the curvature of the earth. You might be able to see the faint yellow is the sunrise. And then there's lines representing the ocean between the horizon and around the embryo. The embryo is sitting happily in a small sunflower sprout. And at the base, the brown lines is the earth. And I've noted today's date, International Journaling Week. Thank you, Leandra. I started out feeling reluctant today, but this has already brought a lot of optimism into my day. Thank you.
That's so good to hear. Yeah. Thank you for joining. I love your painting too.
Thank you.
Is there someone else we want to spotlight on?
I don't know if you can hear me, Deborah Kahn.
I did.
Hi. Am I blacked out
Yeah,
on
we
the
can't see
screen? Yeah, I don't know. I tried to get it corrected, but I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm looking at myself. Well, I won't take. I wanted to show you that I had drawn an acorn that had sprouted, and it's about probably 10 inches long. And the root, what I learned was, and was fascinated with, was that the root was just as long as the sprout. And I don't know how to say this word, cotyledons, cotyledons, the first.
Yeah, those are the seed leaves that come up when the plant first emerges.
Yeah, and they were little tiny and kind of wrinkled up, and I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. So I really never paid attention to those before. Anyhow, I'm sorry that you can't see my page. I'll have to figure it out before the next session.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Pete, hi. Would you like to say what you've been working on? Can you unmute for us? If you go down to the lower left corner, you'll see, you click on the microphone. That's it.
That's it, done it.
Yeah.
Just move that thing over there, whatever that was. Right, so on the way back from Pennycook, we go along the Moor Road. I've posted that a few times. That's where I saw the Northern Lights a few weeks ago. Anyway, there's loads and loads of cotton grass out. So I painted that today. I know it's not a journal like germination thing, but I just, because it's my nature journal ongoing. So this is day 188 and it's 1st of June. So that's what I painted today. So I don't know if you can see the picture there. That's what it looks like. It's just one massive moor, like a raised peat bog. And there's just loads and loads of cotton grass out. And that's because it's been like a monsoon the last week. It's absolutely tipped down. We had like months rain in about 24 hours. Must be climate change. There you go. And then sun's come out and it's really hot. So like, well, it's hot for Scotland anyway. So there's loads of masses and masses of cotton grass, and it's just beautiful up there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Pete. And people are enjoying your journey. You've been such a Assistant poster on the International Nature Journaling Week
The
website,
only person on it after the week.
but doing it every day is really wonderful. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thanks very much.
Jenna, would you like to unmute?
Yeah, hey. I was also, hey everyone. I hope you all are having a great time. I know I am. I was the one that posted about the cicadas because I live in North Carolina, and where I live, we're having the brood 19. They're all dying off now, but they all like emerged in a very frightening and intense fashion over the last month. But I thought I'd make it funny because I have up here, like it says, swipe right, girl, swipe right. And then like the to-do list for them, which is like fly, sing, you know, do it, lay, but don't eat, annoy me and die. Occasional homies with brood, what brood is that? Brood 13. So I thought to make it just a little funny infographic. I had a fun time with it.
Can you explain a little bit more? So this is like a rare event where they all come out in one go.
So in North America, there is yearly cicadas, and then there are 17-year broods and 13-year broods. And the one that is near me every 13 years. So they spend most of those 13 years underground. And then they crawl up and they look like that, and then they crack out of their backs, and then they start flying around and singing and mating, and then they lay eggs in the trees, and then they die. And this year there is the convergence of the 13-year and the 17-year. So through parts of the south of US and the Midwest, the middle part, there is a lot of cicadas this year, but they are harmless. They don't bite. Birds, lots of other creatures enjoy all this tasty protein, easy protein, and they decompose and help all of the trees and the grass and the soil. So
That is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. That it sort of encompasses all of this week's themes, doesn't it? It's reproduction, it's death and decay, it's coming up to life again and renewing. It's amazing.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. I was speaking without my thing being on. Would you like to share, Kiki?
Hi, everyone. Greetings from Grenada. I love this International Journaling Week. And I think, Bethan, it's all your fault that I'm now a birder. I fell down the hole because I went out into my garden. My husband's a gardener part-time. He's really a lawyer, but a gardener at heart. And I think 2 years ago, I started doing the journaling with you. And of course, in the Caribbean, I'm in Grenada. And when you go out in the yard, in the nature, it's only birds. And now I am a birder, and it's been a wonderful journey. But I do a little bit of journaling. And so I told my husband, look, today is the first day. I need something that's germinating. And he found a beautiful seed that he's been germinating called a mammy apple. I don't know if you know it, M-A-M-M-Y, mammy apple. It's a fruit. And here it is. This is the seed. And you see, it looks like a little kind of pinkish worm. I was kind of like disappointed. I'm like, honey, there's nothing green about this. But this is actual seed here. And this is the little sprout coming up.
Yeah.
The little, I don't know what you call it, but it's a really nice fruit. It actually tastes like peaches in the States. And so that's my model. And then this is what I started drawing. So this is a little, I don't know what you call this, the thing that's coming out from the seed. And then I also did it on the other side. So I did one view and then I did the other view just to get a different view. And I find I did the seed itself better on this side, getting some of the texture. because it is kind of black and then the earth is around it. So I'm just having fun with you guys, and thank you so much, Leandra, for your encouraging, demonstration. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the week. So thanks again, Bethan and Leandra.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wow, what an amazing thing. I love seeing things from different parts of the world. This is just the best. Candace, would you like to share before we head
Sure.
off?
Sure. So I've been sprouting just sprouts, bean sprouts, alfalfa sprouts, radish sprouts. Whoops, that wasn't good. Well, now I have it on my page. Anyway, so
Oh, very
that's
cool.
what it turned out to be on what I was journaling.
Super cool. Are those all at different stages of growth so you could compare them, or are they all different types of sprouts?
They are different kinds of sprouts. There are radish, alfalfa, and mung bean sprouts.
Oh, those are so cool.
And so they were all started at the same time, probably 4 5 days ago. And then I water them twice a day, and now they're ready to eat.
Wow, I don't think I realized those grew that fast.
How fantastic. What a great idea. I love that we can do something really proactive like that in our home kitchens to experience germination or to be part of nature in that way. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you especially, Leandra, for taking us through your process and letting us see your garden and the way that you nature journal. It's been really wonderful to be here with you in this relaxed kind of way. This recording will go up on the International Nature Journaling Week website, and we have more sessions coming up. There's one actually tonight, which is for day 2. For me, it will be tonight. For Jules, who's taking the session, it will be the middle of the day. She's in British summertime, but all the recordings will go up online. But I just want to say again, Leandra, thank you so much for joining us. It's been just such a joy to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This
We
was so great.
can thank Leandra in this way.
Yay, thank y'all. I've been wanting to do this for so long, so this is my first time, and I really appreciate y'all for hanging out with me.
Amazing. Have a good day, good night, good sleep, good.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone from around the world. Take care.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bethan.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.